The stars glittered like diamonds against the endless black of space. Commander Alan Wright stood on the bridge of the USS Dauntless, hands clasped behind his back. The exploration vessel had been traveling through uncharted territory for 3 months now. This region near the Orion Arm had never been explored by humans before. "Commander, I'm picking up something strange," said Lieutenant Kate Miller from her tactical station. Her fingers danced across the control panel. "It's a ship. Definitely not one of ours." Wright walked over to her station and looked at the readings. "First contact scenario. Everyone remember your training. This is what we've prepared for." Captain Eric Matthews nodded from his command chair. "Open communications. Standard greeting package." The mood on the bridge shifted from routine to alert. Excitement. This was why they had all joined Earth's space program, to make discoveries, to meet new civilizations. Ryan Kelly, the young communications officer, sent the greeting package. It contained basic information about humans, peace offerings, and simple mathematical sequences to establish a foundation for communication. "Signal sent, Captain," Kelly reported. His hands trembled slightly with excitement. The bridge crew waited. 10 minutes passed. "Sir, the alien vessel is changing course," Miller said, frowning at her screens. They're heading straight for us." "Maintain position," Matthews ordered. "They might just be curious." Dr. Olivia Barnes arrived on the bridge. As the ship's chief medical officer, she wanted to witness humanity's newest first contact. "Any response to our message?" she asked Kelly. "Nothing yet, Doctor." Wright felt a familiar tightness in his stomach. Something wasn't right. After 15 years in space, he had developed instincts. "Captain, I recommend we raise shields as a precaution." Matthews hesitated. That might be seen as hostile. "Energy. Spike!" Miller suddenly shouted. "They're powering weapons." "Shields now," Matthews ordered. But it was too late. The Dauntless rocked violently as energy beams sliced through its hull. Alarms blared. People screamed. Emergency lights flashed red throughout the bridge. "Return fire," Matthews commanded, but another hit sent him flying from his chair. He crashed against a wall panel which exploded in a shower of sparks. Wright rushed to the captain's side. Blood poured from a wound in Matthews' head. Dr. Barnes was already there, medical scanner in hand. "Damage report," Wright called out. "Decks 3 through 5 breached. 14 crew members dead." "Weapons at 60% capacity," Miller reported, her voice steady despite the chaos. Barnes looked up at Wright, her face grim. "He's dying, Commander. Internal bleeding, massive trauma." Matthews grabbed Wright's uniform with bloody fingers. "Alan," he gasped, "protect the crew. No mercy. For those who give none." His hand fell away as his eyes went vacant. Wright stood, his face hardening into a mask. "I have the con. Target their weapon systems and fire." The Dauntless fought back, landing several good hits on the alien vessel, but they were outmatched. "More ships approaching, Commander," Miller reported. 3 of them, same design. Wright made a quick decision. "Plot an escape course, maximum speed." As the Dauntless fled, Wright stared at the view screen, watching the alien ships grow smaller. "I want information. Who are they? Why did they attack without provocation?" Hours later, the senior staff gathered in the conference room. Captain Matthews's chair remained empty. "They call themselves the Vrexians," Kelly explained, displaying information on the main screen. "We've matched their ship design to reports from other vessels. There have been 12 encounters in the past 6 months, all ended in attack. 3 human ships destroyed with all hands lost." "Any ships captured?" Wright asked. Miller nodded grimly. "The USS Valiant was boarded. Crew taken prisoner. Never heard from again." Dr. Barnes pulled up medical files. "I've been reviewing data from previous encounters. The few bodies we've recovered of those who were briefly captured show signs of experimentation. Surgical incisions, tissue samples removed." Wright's jaw tightened. "So they're taking our people for study?" "It appears so, Commander," Barnes confirmed. "And based on tissue degradation, these procedures were done while the victims were still alive." Silence fell over the room. Wright walked to the viewport, staring out at the stars. Commander, Miller said finally, we need to establish protocols for future encounters. Do we attempt communication again? Retreat on sight? Engage? Wright turned, his eyes cold. We've tried communication. They responded with violence. I'm implementing a new standing order, effective immediately. He moved to the head of the table, taking the captain's vacant chair for the first time. From this moment forward, the USS Dauntless operates under the following protocol. Any Vrexian ship or personnel encountered will be considered hostile. We will engage with full force. We will not accept surrender. We will not take prisoners. Doctor, Barnes gasped. Commander, that's against every regulation in the book. We can't just execute. They're not executing our people, Doctor. Wright cut her off. They're doing something worse. This isn't about revenge. It's about sending a message that humanity will not be harvested like cattle. Miller studied Wright's face. You realize what this means? Once word gets back to Earth, I'll face court-martial most likely. Wright nodded. But our first duty is to protect human life. If this is what it takes to make these Vrexians think twice about capturing our people, then so be it. Kelly looked troubled. Sir, do we really want to be known as the species that takes no prisoners? Wright's expression didn't change. If it keeps our people from becoming laboratory specimens, yes. Let that be the one rule aliens can't ignore. Human ships don't spare prisoners. The news spread through the ship quickly. Some crew members were disturbed by the order. Others, especially those who had lost friends in the attack, embraced it. Over the next few weeks, the Dauntless repaired its damage and continued its mission, but with a new purpose. They were no longer just explorers. They were a warning. A month. After the first encounter, sensors detected another Vrexian vessel. They haven't seen us yet, Miller reported. We could slip away. Wright took his position in the captain's chair. Matthews's blood had been cleaned from the floor, but Wright could still see it in his mind. Charge weapons. Plot an intercept course, he ordered. Let's make sure they remember the name Dauntless. Let's make sure they all learn the rule. The ESO, human ship turned, engines flaring, weapons ready. The hunt had begun. 6 months had passed since the USS Dauntless first encountered the Vrexians. The ship's hull now bore scars from 12 separate battles. Commander Alan Wright had not lost a single additional crew member since implementing his controversial no prisoners policy. Word of the Dauntless and its ruthless approach had spread throughout human space. Some called Wright a war criminal. Others hailed him as humanity's defender. Earth's military command had spent weeks debating the ethics and legality of his actions. Wright didn't care about the debate. He cared about results. And the results were clear. Vrexian ships now fled at the first sign of the Dauntless. Commander, we're receiving a priority message from Earth Command, said Ryan Kelly from his communications station. Wright nodded. Put it through to my ready room. In the privacy of his office, Wright accepted the transmission. Admiral Harriet Powell's stern face appeared on screen. Commander Wright, she began without greeting. I've reviewed your reports and the data you've collected on Vrexian activities. Wright waited silently. Initially, we considered relieving you of command. Powell continued. Your actions violate multiple regulations regarding treatment of enemy combatants. With respect, Admiral, Wright started. Powell held up her hand. Let me finish. New information has come to light that changes things. She forwarded a file to his terminal. Wright opened it and felt his blood run cold. The screen showed images of a human colony on Rigel 4. Buildings burned. Bodies lay in streets, some had been cut open, organs removed. 3 days ago, the Vrexians hit Rigel 4, Powell explained. Over 12,000 colonists. Only a few hundred survived by hiding in the mines. Wright clenched his fist. How many? Taken prisoner? At least 4,000, Powell said grimly. The survivors report seeing colonists loaded onto transport ships, mostly younger people and children. Wright closed his eyes briefly. What are your orders, Admiral? Powell's face hardened. Effective immediately, all Earth ships are authorized to implement what we're now calling the Wright Protocol. No Vrexian, prisoners, no exceptions. After the call ended, Wright sat motionless. He had created this policy to protect his crew. Now it was official doctrine for the entire fleet. Lieutenant Kate Miller found him still sitting there an hour later. "Sir, we've detected a distress signal from the Hermes mining outpost," she reported. "It's under Vrexian attack." The Dauntless arrived too late to save everyone. The mining outpost's main facility had been destroyed. 58 miners were dead. 30 more had been taken. "Search the system," Wright ordered. "They can't have gone far." The Dauntless found the Vrexian ship hiding in an asteroid field. It was larger than the vessels they had encountered before. A transport ship, with fighter escorts. "Tactical analysis," Wright demanded. Miller studied her console. "The transport is lightly armed. 4 escort fighters with moderate weaponry. Our scans detect human life signs aboard the transport, approximately 30. Dr. Olivia Barnes, who had come to the bridge when she heard about the captured miners, looked at Wright. "Commander, we have to try to save them." Wright nodded. "Agreed, but we maintain protocol." "Sir," Barnes protested, "once we've rescued the prisoners, we don't know what's been done to them already." Wright cut her off. "And we won't risk Vrexian survivors reporting our tactics or ship capabilities back to their command." Wright turned to Miller. "Target the fighters first. Once they're neutralized, we'll board the transport." The battle was swift and brutal. The Dauntless disabled the transport's engines while destroying all 4 fighter escorts. No distress calls were sent. No Vrexian escape pods launched. Wright led the boarding party himself, along with Miller and a team of security officers. They moved through the transport ship's corridors, eliminating any Vrexian they encountered. The aliens were tall, with gray-blue skin and 4 arms. They fought fiercely but were outmatched. The humans found the captured miners in a large hold that had been converted into a makeshift laboratory. Medical tables lined the walls. 3 miners were strapped to tables, unconscious but alive. The others were locked in cells. "Get these people back to the Dauntless," Wright ordered the security team. "Dr. Barnes is standing by in sickbay." Miller accessed a Vrexian computer terminal. "Sir, I think I've found something important." The terminal displayed star charts with several systems marked. One was labeled with Vrexian symbols that the ship's computer translated as Processing Center Alpha. "That's a major base," Miller said. "And look at this manifest. They've taken prisoners from at least 15 different human outposts." Wright studied the information. "Copy everything. Once our people are evacuated, we're setting charges. This ship doesn't exist anymore." Back on the Dauntless, Dr. Barnes worked frantically to treat the injured miners. The 3 who had been on the tables had surgical incisions similar to what they'd seen before. Tissue and blood samples had been taken. One of them, a woman named Lisa Cooper, regained consciousness while Barnes was treating her. "They said we were perfect specimens," Cooper whispered, her voice shaking. "They said humans have something unique they need." Wright, who had come to check on the rescued miners, leaned closer. "What do they need? What makes humans special to them?" Cooper's eyes filled with tears. "Our ability to adapt. They said our cells can change in ways theirs can't. They need that ability." She grabbed Wright's arm. "There are more of us, thousands, at their main facility." Later, in the conference room, Wright met with his senior staff. "The coordinates we found match a system at the edge of what we've been calling Vrexian space," Miller explained, displaying the star chart. "Based on the data we recovered, it appears to be a major research installation. If the numbers are accurate, there could be up to 7,000 human prisoners there. We can't attack a facility that large alone." Kelly pointed. Wright nodded. "We're not going to. I've sent all the data to Earth Command. They're assembling a strike force. The Dauntless will join them." Dr. Barnes looked troubled. "And the Wright protocol remains in effect?" "It does," Wright confirmed. "But our primary objective is rescuing those prisoners." As the meeting ended, Miller stayed behind. "Sir, there's something else in the data that concerns me," she said. "The Vrexians mention reporting to someone else. They call them the directors or the overseers. I'm not sure of the exact translation." Wright frowned. "You think the Vrexians aren't acting alone?" "I think they might be following someone else's orders," Miller replied. "And whoever they are, They're very interested in what makes humans special. Wright stared at the star chart, at the blinking light marking the Vrexian research facility. Then we'll just have to make sure they learn exactly what makes humans special, he said quietly, and why taking us prisoner is the last mistake they'll ever make. The strike force assembled at the edge of known space was the largest fleet humans had ever put together. 27 warships formed a protective ring around the USS Dauntless. Commander Alan Wright had been given overall tactical command of the mission, despite some admirals disagreeing with his methods. "All ships report ready, sir," Lieutenant Kate Miller said from her tactical station. Wright nodded. "Send the jump coordinates to all vessels. We move in 5 minutes." The bridge was quiet. Everyone knew what was at stake. 7,000 human prisoners waited in the Vrexian research facility. Most had likely already suffered terrible experiments. Wright was about to give the order to jump. Ryan Kelly spoke up from communications. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission. It's not human or Vrexian." "On screen," Wright ordered. The main view screen showed a creature unlike any they had seen before. It had smooth green skin, large black eyes, and no visible mouth. When it spoke, the words seemed to form directly in their minds. "Humans of Earthfleet, I am Ambassador Zeal of the Galactic Council. We seek peaceful dialogue regarding your conflict with the Vrexian Dominion." Wright exchanged glances with Miller. They had encountered other alien species before, but none had ever mentioned a Galactic Council. "Ambassador," Wright replied cautiously, "we're on a rescue mission to save thousands of our people who have been taken prisoner and are being experimented on. We don't have time for dialogue right now." The alien's eyes blinked slowly. "We understand your urgency. We do not seek to delay your mission. Rather, we offer assistance." 5 large ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, dwarfing even the largest human vessels. They were sleek and silver with strange energy patterns flowing across their hulls. "The Vrexians have violated council law by experimenting on sentient beings," Zeal continued. "Other species have suffered similar fates. We propose a coalition to end this threat." Wright hesitated only briefly. "We accept your help, Ambassador, but I should warn you about our rules of engagement." "The right protocol," Zeal replied. "No prisoners. We are aware. For this mission, we will follow your lead." The combined fleet jumped to the Vrexian system. Instead of one research facility, they found an entire planet dedicated to laboratories and prison compounds. Orbital defenses opened fire immediately. "They were expecting us," Miller said grimly. Wright's jaw tightened. "All ships, engage orbital platforms. Council vessels, target their fleet. Dauntless will lead the ground assault once we have an opening." The space battle was fierce. 2 human ships were destroyed, but the Council vessels' advanced weapons tore through Vrexian defenses. Within an hour, a path to the surface had been cleared. Wright led the boarding party personally. Shuttles from multiple ships carried hundreds of soldiers to the main research complex. The Council sent their own warriors, tall, muscular beings with 6 limbs who moved with frightening speed. Inside the facility, they found horrors beyond imagination. Humans in various stages of dissection. Living test subjects with body parts removed and replaced. Children kept in small cages, trembling with fear. Wright fought with cold rage, his weapon never stopping as they cleared room after room of Vrexian, scientists and guards. The Wright protocol was followed to the letter. No mercy. No prisoners. In the central chamber, they found the facility's commander, a Vrexian larger than the others, with elaborate markings on its blue-gray skin. "You're too late," the Vrexian said in broken English as Wright's team surrounded it. "The data is already sent. The Archons know your weakness now." "Who are the Archons?" Wright demanded, his weapon aimed at the Vrexian's head. The alien made a sound like laughter. "Our masters. The true power in this galaxy. They have studied thousands of species. Humans are just the latest." One of the Council warriors stepped forward. "The Archons are supposed to be a myth." "Ask your Council elders the truth," the Vrexian commander replied. "They know. They fear. That's why they hide." Wright had heard enough. A single shot ended the conversation. The right protocol remained in effect. By the end of the day, the facility had been secured. Over 5,000 human prisoners were still alive, though many were badly injured. Medical teams worked non-stop to stabilize them for transport back to Earth. Dr. Olivia Barnes found Wright standing alone in a room filled with specimen containers. Each held organs and tissue samples from human victims. "We've downloaded their research database," she said quietly. "It's extensive. They've been studying us for years, long before first contact." Wright didn't look away from the containers. What were they looking for? "Something in our cellular structure," Barnes explained. "Humans can adapt to environmental changes faster than any species they've encountered. Our cells mutate and evolve in ways theirs can't. And these Archons want that ability," Wright concluded. Barnes nodded. "It seems so." Later, on board the Dauntless, Wright met with Ambassador Zeal and representatives from the other Council species. The mood was somber. The Vrexians spoke of the Archons, Wright said. "They claimed you know who they are." Zeal's large eyes blinked slowly. "The Archons are indeed real, Commander Wright. They dwell in the outer regions of the galaxy. For millennia, they have taken species for study. The Council has tried to protect younger civilizations, but our resources are limited." "Why didn't you warn us when we first entered space?" What Miller asked. "We hoped they would not notice humans," another Council member explained. "Your species appeared suddenly, expanding rapidly. By the time we prepared diplomatic contact, the Archons had already taken interest." Wright leaned forward. "How many other species have they experimented on?" "Hundreds," Zeal replied. "Most never recovered. Some were wiped out entirely." "And the Vrexians, are they victims too?" Zeal made a gesture with its long fingers. "The Vrexians were conquered centuries ago. They serve the Archons as soldiers and scientists. Their minds are altered. They believe they act of their own will, but they follow Archon commands." Wright exchanged glances with his officers. This changed everything. The enemy was not just the Vrexians, but these mysterious Archons. "The coalition we formed today must continue," Wright said finally. "Humans won't be lab specimens for anyone, and if these Archons have been doing this to other species, it's time someone stopped them." Zeal's mental voice carried a tone of surprise. "You would challenge the Archons directly? No species has ever dared." Wright looked around at his fellow humans, then at the Council representatives. "We're not like other species, and we've just shown the galaxy what happens when someone takes humans prisoner." For the first time, Zeal seemed to project something like respect. "Perhaps this is why the Archons fear humans most of all. You do not accept defeat." Wright nodded, grimly. "They're right to be afraid, and they're about to learn why." Admiral Alan Wright stood at the viewport of his new command ship, the USS Retribution. His promotion had come 6 months after the rescue mission that freed 5,000 human prisoners. The USS Dauntless remained in service, now under the command of Captain Kate Miller. The Human Council coalition had grown stronger. 17 species had joined the fight against the Vrexians and their Archon masters. Dozens of research facilities had been destroyed. Thousands of prisoners from various species had been freed, but the war was far from over. The Archons remained hidden, directing Vrexian forces from the shadows. No human had ever seen an Archon in person. "Admiral, we've detected unusual activity in Sector 87, reported Commander Sam Ellis, Wright's new tactical officer. "A Vrexian command ship has dropped out of hyperspace alone, no escort vessels." Wright frowned. Vrexian command ships always traveled with protection. "Could be a trap. Approach with caution." As the Retribution moved closer, they received a surprising transmission. "Human vessel, this is Grand General Krav of the Vrexian fleet," came a voice over the comms. "I request sanctuary and safe passage. I bring critical information about the Archons." Wright had never heard of a Vrexian seeking sanctuary. "Scan their ship. Any weapons powered?" "No, sir," Ellis replied. "Their shields are down too. They're completely vulnerable." The bridge crew looked to Wright. Everyone knew the Wright protocol, no Vrexian prisoners, but this was unprecedented. Bring them into tractor range, Wright ordered. Security teams to the shuttle bay. I want that general in the interrogation room in 20 minutes. Dr. Barnes, who had transferred to the Retribution with Wright, looked concerned. Sir, the protocol may need revision, Wright finished. If this Vrexian really has information about the Archons, it could change everything. Grand General Krav was tall even for a Vrexian, with dark blue skin and 4 powerful arms. Unlike other Vrexians they had encountered, Krav's eyes seemed clear and focused. Thank you for not destroying my vessel on sight, Krav said as guards led him into the interrogation room. Your reputation precedes you, Admiral Wright. Wright studied the alien carefully. Why should I believe anything you say? Your people have tortured and experimented on thousands of humans. Krav lowered all 4 of his hands to the table. Because I am no longer under Archon control. Look at my neck. The Vrexian turned his head to reveal a surgical scar at the base of his skull. 3 months ago, a rebellion began within our military, Krav explained. Some of us discovered the implants the Archons used to control us. We've been removing them, freeing our people from their influence. Wright remained skeptical. Convenient timing. You start losing the war, suddenly you're victims too? Test my blood, Krav suggested. Archon control devices release specific compounds into our bloodstream. Your doctors can verify I am free of them. Dr. Barnes took blood samples. An hour later, she confirmed Krav's story. There are surgical scars consistent with implant removal, she reported. And his blood work shows no trace of the control compounds. We've found in other Vrexian prisoners. Wright's first instinct was still to execute the Vrexian. Every fiber of his being wanted revenge for Captain Matthews and all the other humans who had suffered. But his duty as an admiral came first. Tell me about the Archons, Wright demanded when he returned to the interrogation room. Krav nodded. They came to our world 300 years ago. They presented themselves as allies offering advanced technology. Then they began the implantations. Within a generation, our entire species served them without question. Why do they stay hidden? They are few in number, Krav explained. Perhaps only a few thousand in total. They use controlled species like mine to build their empire. The Vrexians are their military arm. Other species serve different functions. Wright leaned forward. And their interest in humans? Your adaptive ability threatens them, Krav said simply. Archons cannot adapt. Their genetics are fixed, unchanging. They believe if they can extract and replicate human adaptability, they will become invincible. The information was relayed to Earth Command and the Council. After days of debate, a controversial decision was made. The Wright protocol would be modified. Vrexians who removed their control implants would be treated as potential allies, not enemies. Not everyone agreed. Many humans wanted revenge for their suffering. Some Council species had even longer histories of Vrexian aggression to overcome. Captain Miller arrived on the Retribution for a strategy meeting. She still held reservations about trusting any Vrexians. How do we know this isn't an elaborate trick, she asked during the meeting. The Archons could have ordered some Vrexians to pretend to rebel, to infiltrate our coalition. Krav, now working with coalition intelligence, acknowledged her concern. You are right to be suspicious, Captain. That is why I propose a joint mission. A small team of humans and free Vrexians to infiltrate an Archon command center. Wright raised an eyebrow. You know where to find an Archon? I do, Krav confirmed. I was once part of the honor guard at their primary relay station. Few Vrexians are permitted to see Archons in person. It is a heavily guarded secret. The mission was planned in absolute secrecy. Wright would lead personally, joined by Miller, Dr. Barnes, and a small team of specialists. Krav and 5 other free Vrexians would guide them. Their target, a massive space station hidden in a nebula at the edge of Vrexian space. According to Krav, at least one Archon overseer was always present there. If we can capture an Archon, alive, Wright told his team, we might finally understand what we're really fighting. The words felt strange in his mouth. For 2 years, he had lived by the rule that there would be no prisoners. Now he was planning a mission specifically to take one. The night before the mission, Miller found Wright in his quarters staring at an old photo of the original Dauntless crew. "Having second thoughts about the protocol?" she asked. Wright sighed. Matthew's dying words were no mercy for those who give none. "I've lived by that. But what if some of these Vrexians were victims too? What if we've been executing prisoners of war who couldn't even control their own actions?" Miller sat across from him. "We did what we had to at the time based on what we knew. That's all anyone can do." Wright nodded slowly. "Tomorrow we might see the face of our real enemy. I just hope we recognize it when we do." As he prepared for sleep, Wright couldn't help but wonder if history would remember him as a war hero or a war criminal. Perhaps both. But one thing was certain: his name had become a rule that aliens couldn't ignore. And tomorrow even the mysterious Archons would learn what happens when they took humans prisoner. The nebula glowed purple and green, gases swirling like cosmic ghosts. Inside this natural hiding place floated the Archon command station. It was massive, shaped like a perfect sphere with countless lights dotting its dark surface. Admiral Allen, Wright studied the station from the small scout ship they had used to approach undetected. Beside him, Grand General Krav pointed at different sections of the station. "The docking bay is here," the Vrexian explained. "Security will be heavy, but my access codes should still work." Captain Kate Miller looked skeptical. "And if they've changed the codes? Then we fight our way in," Wright said simply. Their team was small but elite. Wright, Miller, Dr. Barnes, 3 human Special Forces soldiers, and 6 free Vrexians including Krav. They wore Vrexian military uniforms with the humans disguised as best as possible. "Remember," Wright told the team, "our primary objective is to capture an Archon alive. We need to understand what we're fighting." The scout ship approached the station using Vrexian identification signals. Tense minutes passed as they waited for permission to dock. "We are cleared," Krav announced finally. "They suspect nothing." Once inside the station, Krav led them through service corridors to avoid security checkpoints. The station was unlike anything the humans had seen before. The architecture was strange, with curved walls and odd angles that seemed to defy normal geometry. "The Archons do not think like other species," Krav whispered when he noticed their confusion. "Their minds work differently." They reached a secure door marked with symbols that the translation software couldn't process. "The Archon Overseer Chamber," Krav explained. "Only those with direct implant connections are normally permitted entry." Wright nodded to one of the Vrexian rebels who placed a device on the door's control panel. Moments later, the door slid open. They rushed inside, weapons ready. The chamber was large and dimly lit, with a pool of glowing blue liquid in the center. Floating in the pool was a creature unlike anything the humans had imagined. The Archon was approximately 3 meters tall, with translucent skin that revealed pulsing organs beneath. It had no limbs, just tentacle-like appendages that waved slowly in the liquid. Its head was enormous, housing a brain that glowed faintly. "Do not move," Wright ordered, aiming his weapon at the creature. The Archon made no sound, but suddenly, Wright felt words forming directly in his mind. "Admiral Allen Wright," the voice said. "The human who takes no prisoners." Wright kept his weapon steady. "You know who I am?" "We have studied you extensively," the Archon replied mentally. "Your resistance was unexpected. In 3 million years, no species has defied us so effectively." Dr. Barnes moved to Wright's side, scanner in hand. "Admiral, I'm detecting unusual brain activity. It's attempting to access our neural pathways." "Resist it," Wright ordered. "Everyone focus." Miller stepped forward. "We've come to negotiate the end of this conflict." The Archon's mental voice seemed to ripple with amusement. "There is nothing to negotiate. You will be studied, your adaptive qualities harvested. Resistance merely provides more data." Krav moved to the edge of the pool. "You no longer control all Vrexians. We have broken free." "A temporary aberration," the Archon replied dismissively. "You will be corrected or replaced." Wright had heard enough. You've experimented on thousands of humans, killed countless more. Did you really think we would just allow that? The Archon's tentacles moved more rapidly. Your permission was irrelevant. Lesser species exist to serve our needs. Lesser? Wright challenged. Then why do you need our adaptive abilities? For the first time, the Archon seemed disturbed. Our perfection is fixed, unchanging. We require your crude mutation capabilities to overcome certain limitations. As they spoke, Wright noticed movement at the edges of the chamber. More Vrexians were entering, their eyes vacant, still under Archon control. We have company, he warned the team. Fighting erupted instantly. The controlled Vrexians attacked with mindless determination. Wright's team formed a defensive circle around the pool. We need to extract the Archon, Wright called to Krav. How do we move it? It cannot survive outside the nutrient pool for long, Krav replied, firing at the attacking Vrexians. We would need a portable containment unit. As the battle intensified, the Archon's mental voice invaded Wright's mind again. You cannot win this war, human. We are ancient, patient. Even if you escape today, we will continue our work. Your species will serve us as all species eventually do. Wright felt rage building inside him. You still don't understand, do you? Humans don't serve. We don't surrender. And we remember those who harm us. The controlled Vrexians pressed closer. One of the human soldiers fell, wounded by enemy fire. Their position was becoming untenable. Wright made a decision. New plan. Set charges around the chamber. We're taking the whole station. Miller looked at him in surprise. What about capturing the Archon? Some enemies can't be captured. Wright replied grimly. Some threats must be eliminated completely. As the team placed explosives, the Archon's mental voice grew more frantic. You cannot destroy this station. It houses research from 1,000 worlds. Knowledge beyond your comprehension. Knowledge built on suffering, Wright responded. No more. With the charges set, the team began fighting their way back to the docking bay. The controlled Vrexians pursued relentlessly. 2 more team members fell during the retreat. They reached the scout ship with seconds to spare. As they launched from the station, Wright looked at the detonator in his hand. The Wright protocol began because we wouldn't take prisoners, he said to his team. But it evolved into something else, a message that humans won't be victims. He pressed the button. The station erupted in a series of explosions, tearing the perfect sphere apart from within. As they escaped through the nebula, Krav approached Wright. There are more Archons. This is just the beginning of the real war. Wright nodded. But now we know our enemy, and they know us. 6 months later, Wright stood before the newly formed Galactic Alliance, the successor to the Council, now expanded, to include both humans and free Vrexians. Representatives from 87 species had gathered to sign the charter. The war against the Archons continues, Wright told the assembly. But we fight with a new understanding. We fight not just for humans or Vrexians or any single species. We fight for the right of all sentient beings to live free from control and exploitation. The document they signed established new laws for interspecies conduct. One article in particular, Article 17, became known across the galaxy as the Wright Rule. No sentient being shall be imprisoned or experimented upon without due process and ethical treatment. Later, Ambassador Zeal found Wright looking out at the stars. Your rule about taking no prisoners has evolved into something quite different, the alien observed. Wright smiled slightly. The first rule was born of anger and necessity. The new one is born of wisdom and hope. As new Archon forces gathered in the outer reaches of the galaxy, they faced not just humans but a united alliance of species. And they learned what Wright had discovered himself, that the most powerful rules are not those that divide but those that protect. The Archons would soon learn that while human ships might no longer execute prisoners, they were still the most dangerous force in the galaxy, because humans fought not just for survival but for justice, and that made them unbeatable.